As I shared in the daily financial news for August 28th, I'm kind of on an Alex Hormozy kick. I like the way he puts thing out. I like the way it's kind of succinct. He makes me think. And Brian, I want to share a quote from him. Do you happen to know Alex Hormozy? Has seen some of his stuff?
I have seen some of his stuff. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So one of the quotes that he put out that kind of feels good to me, and it feels like something you and I would get behind, is this: the easiest way to change your behaviors is to change your surrounding. How many people do we interact with have a surrounding? And now surrounding could be friends, could be job, could be your social media feed. I think that is often ignored, that are just holding you back, right? Some of your friends aren't friends, for heaven's sakes. They're not, they want to keep you down, not, push you up. So how do you feel about that quote? The easiest way to change your behaviors is to change your surrounding.
Mike, I think it's the quintessential example of how you and I end up in the position we are in life right now. We, from our origin story, right, whatever our upbringing was, we adopted some form of belief at that point in time. For me, my dad was a firefighter for 30 years. My mom was a cashier at the grocery store for 25 years. So blue collar family, phenomenal work ethic, but they couldn't teach me how to be an entrepreneur. They couldn't teach me how to be a real estate investor because they never were themselves. Although they owned their primary residence, they just never were investors, right? Um, so my dad's philosophy on life was always go to work 30 years, corporate America, right? And in his mind, like I was killing it being that I was in corporate America making six figures, but I always knew that there was something more. There was a different hunger. There was a different sense of fulfillment that I was seeking. And one of the things that I always caution people about is regardless of what relationship they are to you, that you know, love, and trust them, if they haven't had success in the arena in which you want to have success in, and I don't mean tried and failed, I'm talking about tried, failed, succeeded, then you cannot afford, your future cannot afford for you to take advice from them about where you're trying to go in life. And so I think that quote is highlighting that on so many levels, that you want to go and be successful in a certain environment, you better go get around 4 or 5 people in that same environment that have had the success in order for you to take on their belief, leave behind the one that you had that's incongruent for where you want to go and do that.
Yeah. And obviously you have a growing YouTube channel. This is obviously on my YouTube channel. But one of the things that you quickly realize is if you want to grow fast on YouTube, you have to be negative. You have to preach doom. You have to preach fear, crash,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. If you want to be impactful, right? That's what you and I do. We share the truth. The reality is we really do this business every day. But what I find really interesting is there's some crossover of content or of followers, right? I can definitely tell when a crash bro leaves a comment on my channel,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Their language, their vocabulary,
Exactly.
whatever, right? I want to tell the people, more and more of my audience are like, Michael, I like what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. I watch them to hear the other side. Folks, they're failed mortgage brokers. They're renters. They have not done anything that you want to do. They are high paid content creators. So if you want to create content and know how to make 80 grand a month, by all means, go look at pretty charts and incomplete data and bad assumptions. If you want to go make life changing money in real estate or grow your brand or change people's lives by investing out of state, follow us. There is, you can't divide your mind. If you put poison in your mind, you're going backwards. It's you nobody does that. One drop of oil ruins a glass of water.
That's good, Mike. That's good. I like that. I like that. You know, there's so much to say about this one, Mike. You know, I think about how they say that if you hang around with 5 unsuccessful people, you'll be the sixth one,
Yeah.
right? Same is true on the other side. So just kind of piggybacking off of my previous comment, well, how do I go from a guy growing up in inner city Detroit to a guy now who, you know, has amassed all this wealth in real estate? Because I had to pay to get in the right rooms. Like my peers, my day ones, as we call them, did not subscribe to anything that I subscribed to with respects to the future. And so I found myself on an uphill battle with trying to create this new thing in an old environment. And many of you are stuck in that same place. You're trying to hold on to the relationships that may have gotten you to a certain point in life. And maybe those are your most comfortable relationships because they fed you in your adolescence and maybe even partied through your 20s together. But if they're not on the same trajectory to where you're trying to go, not even necessarily in the same field and the same interest, but same direction in life, then they're holding you back. It's next to impossible to yield the type of success that you truly say you want for yourself while trying to hold on to relationships that are inconsistent with the future that you're trying to create for yourself. And so how do you change that? Well, if you don't know anybody, then you got to go pay to go find some people. And that's what it was for me. When I finally, after 8 years of being out there on my own, buying one rental at a time, there was nothing wrong with it, but I was lucky because I started really aggressively buying during the contraction, 2008 to 10. So you can make money by mistake. You buy it cheap enough, you got enough common sense, you throw some lipstick on it, you rent the thing out, it works. But knew nothing about cash reserves, knew nothing about capital expenditures, knew nothing about all the train wreck that was coming. But it wasn't until I finally paid and joined my first mentorship program. And after 8 years of being out there on my own, I was like, Jesus Christ, man, what have I been doing? And so from that point forward, for the last 7 years, I've done nothing but pay for mentorship to get in the right inner circles, get in the right mentorship groups and the right networks. Because if you want to continue to grow, you have to figure out how to immerse yourself in those type of environments. And while, local meetups and REIs are great, my humble opinion, it's probably 1 to 3% of the people that is really doing deals. A lot of them tire kickers. So we got to also be able to measure activity versus productivity. Me just hanging around a bunch of people that make me feel good is activity. Me being around people that help me actually go execute is productivity.
I couldn't agree more. The other thing, I think I've said this before, but probably not in a long time. If you go back and kind of look at my circle of five in 2001, when we bought our first property on Norris Drive, to my circle of five today, nobody's the same. I've probably changed it over half a dozen times. And I'll probably change it another several times in the next decade. That's what growth is. And you got a choice. It's your life. If you're comfortable and happy, you win. But if you're comfortable and not happy, look in a mirror. Look in a mirror.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Mike, about your circle changing, right? Because I think for most of us, again, speaking from my own personal experience, where I come from, it's you almost outcast to like sell out, right? If you don't stay with the same core group of people you grew up with, then like it's frowned upon. But it's just bad doctrine that we've been fed since children, right? Because we come from a place to where you're an enigma if you can figure out how to get out, and it's normalized to stay within, particularly because most people just don't want to take the additional initiative to get out. So it's easier, right, to just go with the flow. That's why it's the 99% in the world and the 1%. But the part that it took even for me to realize after having my circle change several times as well is that is an inherent part to success. I think when relationships I know you've been in seasons where you thrive in making money with certain people, you never think it's going to end. And then when it does, you almost feel guilty. Like, why did that happen? Well, it happened because that's the natural part of evolution. That's supposed to happen. And when you can identify with that, then you understand that people are going to be in your life for seasons, reasons, and lifetime, right? And for those that are in your life for a specific season, you have to take full advantage of that because that season is coming to an end, y'all. And that's not a negative thing. It's actually a positive because you are only put together by God's grace for this moment in time to accomplish whatever it is that you set forth to accomplish. And the next thing you need to accomplish is going to require some new people. So if your circle is changing, it's not because anything is wrong. It's actually more indicative of something is very right in your life.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Brian, you put out a lot of amazing stuff. Where can people find you?
Brian Adamson Official on YouTube, and then also Brian Adamson Official on Instagram.
Folks, give him a follow. Tell him hi from One Rental at a Time. We would greatly appreciate it. Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike.